Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. Each week here, we bring you a success story from Triangle BNI, which is basically the small business world of the Triangle. BNI is Business Networking International. It's the world's largest networking organization. And Triangle BNI is our section of the world here in Central North Carolina, if you are not familiar with the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. And if you do live in the Triangle here, we certainly recommend you go to trianglebni.com and find a chapter and go visit if you have a small business or if there's somebody you know that is trying to start or grow a small business. We would love to have them come visit one of the chapters, see how good it works, and see if we can help them grow their business. Our guest today is Jen Bourdeaux, Director of Public Relations for New Direction Family Law. Jen, glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here.
So if you've never been to a BNI meeting, it's about an hour and 15 minutes long. BNI is seat specific. So Jen is the only person that can fill the law seat there. So that's the good news. So all the referrals go to her. And each week there's a featured speaker, anywhere of between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on the size of your chapter. And the speaker is always introduced with the BNI member bio sheet, Jen. So we're going to go straight there.
Let's do it.
So our speaker today, Jen Bourdeaux, business name, New Direction Family Law, location.
We just moved about 3 weeks ago. We are down over off of Hillsborough Street now, very close to the Bell Tower at State's campus. But yeah, we're keeping it downtown Raleigh.
Ooh, walking distance with all those restaurants,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And 5 o'clock somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And we were over off of Jones Street before, Jones and Glenwood. So
Oh, yeah,
that
okay.
was all great restaurants and everything there
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But now we get
Yeah.
the ones off of Hillsborough.
Okay.
So.
And how long has the company been in business?
The firm, we're young. We've only been in business for about 2.5 years, 3 in April, but several of us have worked together before.
Okay.
So, like the attorneys have got a combined over 20 years of family law experience, and we all used to work together at a firm before. So it seems like we've been together longer than we have.
Gotcha. Okay. So my second favorite question in all of this is previous types of jobs, and feel free to go all the way back to high school.
Oh
'Cause there's always
goodness,
some good
high
ones.
school. Very first one in high school was Sonic. I was one of the girls on roller skates at Sonic.
Where was this?
In Dunn,
All
big old
right.
town of which that Sonic's not even there anymore. Yeah, so I was a roller girl on skates. I only fell twice in 2 years, and they were both due to peppermints because my roller skates hit the peppermints and down I went. Then let's see, and then I went off to college. There, I just worked at a restaurant. I went to Appalachian State,
Okay.
go Mountaineers, and worked in Blowing Rock in a restaurant there. And then after college, my first big girl job, as I call it,
Yes.
was at a juvenile detention center in Greenville. And that was very, very interesting. All kinds of stories from there. And I worked there for about 4.5 years and decided to go to grad school while I was there.
Mhm.
And then grad school then lent itself to me getting my certificate for general instructor certificate for the state of North Carolina. So I did some teaching there and then was able to go teach at ECU for a year.
Mhm.
Did that and then moved to Raleigh and kind of tripped and fell and stumbled my way into family law. So
Right. Well, with all the schools you just mentioned, we'll get into college football Saturdays in a little
okay.
bit. So we'll
Okay.
get back
Oh,
to that later.
it's a rough
So-
season for as a Pirate fan this
no,
year.
Yeah, my brother, same thing. Yeah. So personal information, family information, spouse.
I'll dive in a little bit more into that later, but not
Okay.
anymore.
Okay. Children.
One fur baby. So,
Okay.
But no human children.
What kind of dog?
She's loved. She's a beagle mix. Not
Right.
exactly sure what she is, but Chance. She's awesome.
Okay. Very good. Hobbies and activities of interest.
Oh man, everything and anything. I grew up a dancer, so I love dancing. Going out, hanging out with friends. We just had a get together yesterday for the Giants and Panthers game. A bunch of us got together, so that was a lot of fun. I'm a fan of our craft beer scene here in
Yes.
Raleigh, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
like
Man,
to
it's a good
try
one.
those. Yeah, it's definitely exploded. Um, just anything. I like to get up,
Okay.
but I also like to relax and sit.
Yeah.
Catch a good movie. Have you been to the Alamo
Not yet.
Theater?
No.
Oh,
Have
you
not.
got to check it
Okay.
out.
All right.
Yeah.
So when your friends were gathering yesterday, anybody have 63-yard field goal in the pool on how the game was going to turn out?
No, and
Yeah.
the couple that was hosting it, they were well, not the only, but 2 of 3 Giants fans in the room, and there was a solid maybe
Yeah.
20 of 15 or so of us
Yeah.
there. So whenever that kick came through, he was like, "All right, you can go now," like taking the stuff, like you
Yeah.
guys can get out of the house
Yeah.
now. So
Nice.
it was fun.
City of residence
Raleigh.
and how long?
I've been in Raleigh for about 5 years now.
Okay.
Yep.
Your burning desire is to
Ooh, I would like to combine what I've done in the past as far as teaching
Mhm.
and what I do now. So I would love to, in the future, speak at some seminars or like continuing education for legal marketing,
Oh, very
stuff
nice.
like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. The key to your success is?
Always be honest and follow when you say you're going to do something, follow
Yeah,
through with it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And don't focus so hard on maybe things that didn't go right in the past. Use them to learn from, but then to focus on where you still can go
Okay.
because you're gonna meet failure to get to success. So
And my favorite question here is something no one knows about you and some new people watching, so they may not know of you or know you yet. So what's something we don't know?
something I can discuss on. No, I'm just kidding.
Other than tripping over some peppermints at Sonic,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I would say so. I know you can't tell from this, but I'm only 5'4". And so my job at the detention center required me to break up fights and put handcuffs and shackles on children in the detention center. So that is, I tell people that and they're like, "What? You were basically like a bouncer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So, so yeah, I used to break up fights, and I realized I was not built for that. So,
But they
but
need
did it for 4.5 years. So
but you also looked at them and said, "Do not be fooled by the size here,"
exactly.
right?
That's right, that's right.
As my dad told me years ago, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. So I
That's
was like,
right.
all right, that'll work. So Jen is a member of RD21, which is
Mhm.
Glenwood South Connection. They meet Wednesdays at noon at Zoco Restaurant down on Glenwood and really good food. I've been there before.
Yes.
And you're relatively new to BNI, so we'll get into that in a minute. But tell us kind of this is the early part of October. So what's
Yes.
kind of the status of the law firm now? How are things going?
Good. So us personally, again, we just moved about 3 weeks ago. So we've just been getting acquainted with our new space, and it's been good. It's been you kinda see times in the year where family law kind of ebbs and flows depending upon the time of year.
Mm,
So, for instance, when the holidays come around, um, since family law, for anyone that may not know, is separation, divorce, child
yeah,
custody, things like that. So when the holidays come around, it calms down, which we understand. A lot of times, people aren't going to want to initiate those types of things that time of year. But now, I mean, as the summer comes to a close and kids get back into school, and then that settles a little bit, then it seems like things start to ramp up
okay.
again. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting to see how it goes with the trends of the year, or the different events of the year. But I think, with the recent events with Hurricane Flo,
Yeah.
I think that kind of, put some things on the back burner, and, so it allowed us to get acquainted into our new space, but it's been, we've got 3 attorneys and got 1 in mediation and 1 in court, and I left one that was doing a consultation as I left the office this morning, so we're keeping them busy.
Now, not many law firms have a director of public relations. So,
Correct.
how did that come about? Why you, and what's your role in that?
Sure. So the founding partner of our office, New Direction Family Law, she and I worked together at a previous firm, and she and I worked together. First, I started out as her paralegal, and then switched into the marketing side of things. And she really understood the value in that of
Mm,
having someone that is dedicated to a marketing side of a law firm. Because whenever you practice family law or any litigation heavy area of law, you're in court a lot, so that doesn't allow you a whole lot of time to be out in the community, building relationships with colleagues and other sorts of community
'cause
organizations.
it truly is a small business.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And especially in this area of law, it's so personal. And so, it's not like I had somebody, they were like, "Well, just so what do you do? Are you like just out there just promoting divorce?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not Oprah standing on the street corner saying, 'You get a divorce, you get a divorce.'" It's more that it affects a lot of people.
Yes,
I'm
it does.
sure, in you guys' lives, whether personally or you've known someone that has gone through separation or divorce, it affects a lot of people. And so we just want to be more of a resource, so that people don't have to look so hard to find that help. And so I don't have to go into court because I'm not an attorney. So it allows me that flexibility to focus on that side of the business as well as kind of be the bridge between the legal world and the community.
And your paralegal background gives you that bridge and that experience to understand things while understanding who a new client may be, but also understanding how to promote the business, right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. It helps a lot, in understanding the family law claims and how that, what kind of the flow of how all of that works. And if it's something that it does fall under the umbrella of family law, or if it's something that, can be revisited, maybe it's a order of some sort from a long time ago, just to make sure that it's something that we can help. And if not, that we can put them in contact with the right person.
So BNI, we've got about here in Triangle BNI, we've got about almost 40 chapters, nearly 700 members. And you can go to trianglebni.com. There's a drop down box that says find a chapter. And you can hit that drop down box there, and it will give you day parts, city, parts of the triangle, whatever you want, and take a look at what chapters are available there. If it's near your work, near your home, you can click on the chapter there and also tell you who all's in the chapter. You can see if you have some natural referral partners there. So, what was your first connection ever with BNI?
A firm that the firm that I used to work for, the one of the attorneys there was a member of the BNI morning show that makes
Mhm.
at Fox and Hound.
Yep, good one.
And once I came on, with the attendance requirement, and her being in court, she needed a sub one day. And so I was sent, I had no idea really what I was walking into. I just knew I had to go and talk about the firm. So I went and I still, that was probably 4, 5 years ago, and I still have such great relationships with some of the people from that group, even though I'm in a different group now, but I've kept in great contact, and so I love going to visit because a lot of those members are still there. In fact, tomorrow afternoon, I'm meeting with one of the members just to
No
kinda
good.
catch up and, answer some questions and stuff. So that was my first. I was like, "Okay," and that's a decently sized group, especially
Oh, yeah.
compared to ours.
Oh, yeah.
So I walked in, hadn't been in family law for very long, and was like, "Oh, okay." It was a little intimidating, but I think every group does such a great job of, since they know the flow of how
Yeah.
the meetings work and everything, of bringing visitors in and making you feel welcome and helping you get acquainted when you have no idea what's going on.
So, how often did you come back and either sub or visit or eventually join after that first time you went?
So with that firm, the attorney was the primary member. And so I would go, I think they kind of were a little bit more lenient with the rules of me being a sub since she was in
Mhm.
court a lot, a
Yeah.
litigator. So I was kind of like the secondary member, I guess. And then once I transitioned and started working with New Direction, when I came on board, RD21 was just getting started. We weren't even an official group yet. And so the founding partner was going, and then I came on in her place as the full time member. And that was, I mean, we did it right as soon as we opened the firm. I mean, so that tells you the importance that we
Yes.
saw in
Yeah.
it, and that as soon as New Direction opened its doors, we were in BNI.
So once you were in the PR role at New Direction
Hmm.
and, you had a good understanding of BNI, what were some of your thoughts on, "Okay, here's what I can do, I think, to help grow the business?"
Yeah, well, I knew that if I still had those connections from that original group, that it was definitely about meeting the people, these new people. I mean, because you have to have what, 17 members, I think, to
Mhm.
establish as an official group. So it was the opportunity of being a part actually of that core group to grow it to an official group that was key. And having, I think some people hadn't really had any experience with BNI previously.
Yes.
So it was
Yeah.
nice. And I jumped on board as being on the membership committee whenever we became official group, because I think my experience originally of walking in and feeling overwhelmed a little bit with my first visit to BNI, that was kind of my, decision. It's like, "Yeah, let me hop on the membership committee," because, or not the membership committee, I'm sorry, a visitor host.
Mhm.
Let me hop on that so that whenever guests come in, they don't have that experience. I want them to
Yes.
feel very welcome and, to know what's going on from the get-go. And so it was an opportunity to, build relationships again with people that, you know, can help our clients personally, and that we can, if they're ever in the situation of knowing someone that's going through one of the transitional phases of that is part of family law, they didn't have to look hard. We were there
Mm.
to answer questions, and so I mean, it was a no brainer with BNI.
And it can be personal because there's certain seats, the realtor seat, the
Hmm.
mortgage seat. It's like, "Oh, yeah, I need one," and you got,
Sure.
pest control, landscape, you got, "Oh, I need you guys. Hey, come over to my house."
Hmm.
But when you start talking, the financial seat with money, anything that involves health, weight loss, health, and all this stuff, and certainly with legal, people aren't inclined to throw their hands up. They may contact you later because it may be something they don't want anybody to know that they're going
Exactly.
through.
I can't count the number of times, whether it's been, if I've subbed for someone at a different BNI group, or just in my own, and we've had a visitor or some sort of other networking, after hours kind of thing. Um, People that then reach out to me independently
Yeah.
or after the meeting is over. And I completely get it. And that's what I'm there for. You just never know. when someone's going through something like this. And so it's great because it's an opportunity for people to either pull me aside and just say, "Hey, I'd like to do a one-to-one," and then we actually, whenever we do the one-to-one, then find out what
Mm,
questions I can answer. And I have to walk a very fine line there because even though I've learned a lot about family law, I'm not an attorney, so I
right.
can't give legal advice.
Yeah.
So I always preface everything. I'm like, "I'm not an attorney. I can't give legal advice."
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't count the number of times that's happened after the fact because it is such a private and intimate situation a lot of times.
And in every BNI meeting, there's a card box that goes around, so every member has their cards there, so visitors, when the box goes around, they can grab a card of somebody they wanna meet, but with lawyers, I know lawyers can't put if I remember right, I know in my chapter, lawyers can't put their cards in there. Can you? Or I've been told before the lawyers can't because they have to have the person, the new client call them. They can't solicit, or maybe their firm chooses not to.
Sure. So you should be able to. I haven't heard that you can't put your card in there because I mean mine's definitely in there.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm held to the same standards with the North Carolina bar that you
Okay.
can't solicit the person. So I can't reach out to them. But if they choose to take my card, then they can choose to contact me. But just having the card in there is fine.
So if I got a neighbor or friend that needs some legal help, I can't say, "Hey, Jen, can you call Bill?"
Correct.
You
Mhm.
you tell me, Bill's got to call me.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and sometimes I'm so used to that, so it's one of those things, whenever, we're going around and doing our commercials in BNI that I try to remember every so often to say that again
Yeah.
because not everyone knows that or, like I said, I'm familiar with it because I do it on a day-to-day basis, but people, don't generally know that yes, you can't an attorney's office can't reach out to you first. And sometimes people will do email introductions, which is great, but again, I'll reach out to the person who did the email intro and say, "Hey, thank you so much for keeping us in mind, but please let the person know that you're referring, that they need to reach out to me first."
Mhm.
So,
And we also, if you want to find out more information about BNI, please give the office a call, 919-465-1667. Talk to Steve or Mary or Brenda. They'll give you wonderful advice, help you out on what other goals you have and whatever you're looking for. So in each chapter, we go around the room and members stand up in 30, 45, 60 seconds, depending
mhm.
on how big your chapter is. And we stand up and say, okay, basically we call it an elevator pitch. And here's who I am, here's what company I'm with, here's what we do. What do you ask for as a law firm? What's kind of the basis of your elevator pitch?
Sure. So when I have a sub, I have a general go-to that kind of covers
Mm,
everything. But what I like to do because family law is so comprehensive that every month I pick one of our main claims, so to say.
okay.
So, I think for October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we do assist people with obtaining domestic violence protective orders, or if they've been served with one, we can be on the defense side of that. And so I like to focus on one thing because it may be, I don't think many people, when they think of us, they primarily think of separation and divorce.
Mm.
So they may not think about the domestic violence side of that. That is a very real issue. Also, another very, very private, intimate issue. But it helps me break it down to be more specific of this is something else that we do. Um, and if you've ever come across or you have questions about this yourself or, know someone that is fighting this battle right now or anything that they are welcome to reach out. So I think in narrowing down the scope of different family law matters, it helps people kind of either remember or touch base of like, oh yeah, I was talking to, I have people all the time that come to me. One of their biggest question is, well, how do I refer to you?
Yeah.
Because it's such a
Oh
tough
yeah.
situation, and I'm like, really, it's about listening. Because if someone's going to talk to you about this, they're gonna, it's you're someone that they trust more than likely, or in a professional capacity if you're like a counselor or therapist. Um, so it's really just being able to listen to that person and really tell them, hey, no pressure whatsoever, but it's always good because one of our mottos is education is power.
Mm.
So you never come in for a consultation and the attorney is going to be like, you need to do this, you need to make this choice. It's more, here's the information. This is what this path might look like for you. Take this and then use it to whatever's going to help you and your family, help you make the best decisions for you and your family.
And we all have preconceived notions and ideas of other industries, and Lord knows lawyers get it all. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a joke, even our lawyer in my group stands up, tells a good lawyer joke about every third week or
Sure.
so. So what are and I always like the people on this show to talk about myths in their industry because we all have them.
Mhm.
So what are a couple of myths you'd love to debunk about the legal world or what your firm does?
Yeah, so I guess I can't speak to the legal world and as a
Mhm.
whole, but in our family law world, I would say one of the biggest myths is that the divorce or, we'll say divorce for simplicity, but that it is always this long, drawn out battle in court and that there's no other option. Whereas a lot of times, um, cases settle or people don't ever go to court and they have what's called a separation agreement in place. And they or if they do start out in court, then things settle shortly thereafter. And so I think that's 'cause I think because of the media and celebrities that
And the
might be going
and the
through.
TV shows.
Yeah, exactly, they go through these long, drawn out, very contentious, divorces that last for years and years, and that's not the I'm not saying that those don't exist,
Mhm.
and there are some that do drag out for years, unfortunately, but the majority of them do not, and there are other options besides going to court to settle things.
And
So
in situations like that, that's probably spouses could not even agree that the sky is blue by that point,
yes,
right?
absolutely,
Okay.
they're fighting over things like I've literally seen people fight over a lettuce washer.
Ooh,
When it came to dividing the property, and I'm like, "The time that it took for us to read that you were even putting the lettuce washer on there, like, you could have gone and bought one." You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, but, sometimes people just really want to have their day in court. They want their voices heard by the judge because we always say, that if 2 people can come to an agreement, it's better for all parties involved,
Mm,
and that it is less expensive than going to court. And you're gonna generally get more of what you want out of the situation because when you go to court, it's your attorney telling your side, their attorney telling their side, and then the judge makes the final decision. There's no jury that you're talking to. It's just the judge saying, "Okay, I've heard both your stories, so this is what's gonna happen." So and so you might end up with less than what you originally wanted,
mm.
or maybe not the optimal custody situation that you were looking at, if you just wanna have your day in court, so but we understand that too, so.
Oh, it just gotta hurt watching some of that sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes the attorneys will advise until they're blue in the face as to, this is what this judge really looks for. They're likely to rule this way, or this is what we've seen in the past. And the person's
Mhm.
just like, nope, I want to go to court, going to court. So, all right. So
Oh,
we prepare, we go to court, and then the judge rules that
mm,
way. And then the client's like, well, I should have blah, blah, blah. We're just,
yeah.
well, we tried to tell you,
It
but
it's risk reward,
yeah.
right?
Yep. Absolutely.
One of the years ago when my wife and I are watching Dr. Phil, one of the great lines he's had is, "How right do you wanna be?"
Mhm. What's it worth? Like,
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
know.
the pride, like,
Yeah,
set it aside, and, how much sooner will you be able to move forward with your
mhm,
life and with your children if there are children involved in the situation? Because, I mean, going to court itself is intimidating, and just to be and the
yeah,
the courtrooms that they're public. I mean, you can just walk into and listen to somebody,
mhm,
and it's not just Jerry Springer or Lifetime movies. I mean, this kind of stuff actually
yeah.
really happens. That's what I always say. Like sometimes I feel like our work is the material for Lifetime movies, but it keeps it interesting, that's for sure.
Is that the not the bulk of the business, is divorce
um,
situations, or is there a higher percentage of cases you would see more than others?
yeah, so it kind of breaks into two main categories. So in North Carolina, and I'm comfortable saying this because it's on our website, so it's supported by an attorney. You have to be separated for a year and a day. So
Yes.
366 days before you can actually file for divorce. So that time in between is the separation period. And so the majority of people, they come to us during that separation period and, trying to get the terms of the separation figured out during that year. Um, and a lot of times that involves child custody. So aside from that, I would say the other big bulk is child custody alone, whether the parents were never married, but they have children together, or if um, there is some sort of custody agreement in place before and maybe now things need to change or somebody's not following the agreement or there wasn't an agreement and now everybody's not working as well together as they originally thought and so now there needs to be a formal agreement in place. So custody, yeah, so definitely custody and then the whole kit and caboodle of
Yeah.
separation.
Now, your chapter is, again, going back to the preconceived notions of lawyers and
Hmm.
legal firms is coat and tie, we're going to court, it's this or that, and I'll bill you. But with New Direction, it's the holistic approach that allows you to build that relationship with the clients and explain to them more than just, okay, let's ask for this and we're going to
Mhm.
draw the line at that.
Yes. It's funny you brought up like coat, tie, and everything because in our chapter we've got Rick Goodman, who is a real estate attorney,
Hmm.
and I love Rick because what you see is what you get, and he talks about how he is everywhere from the janitor
Yeah,
to the attorney in his office. So when you call the phone, he's the one that picks up. So he definitely debunks that myth,
he does. Yes.
and he's great. And I think with us, in like, we really wanna be approachable. We want our clients to be well informed, and to be a big part of their case and to know what's going on. I think sometimes, you put the faith in your attorney and just kind of take it and, like, sometimes attorneys will just take it and go with it, and then next thing you know, client's like, "Oh, okay, I have court in a month." You know what I mean? We definitely want our clients to be more involved in their decision making, to know we like to do cost benefit analysis with them because we know that legal fees can rack up. And so we want them to know, okay, yes, we can try to settle, but if it's not looking like that's going to be a possibility at all, the attorney's not going to waste their time or money for the client and just say, hey, why don't we just go ahead and start preparing like we're going for court because, looking at just the trend of the way things are going, we don't want to backtrack and waste again your time and money. So we like
Mhm.
to have the clients be very cognizant and aware of what's going on with their case because then they really feel like they've had more of a say, and they have,
Yeah.
in what's going on, and what the outcome is. And then when it comes to the children, they know their children better than obviously the best. And when you're looking at custody, it's what's in the best interest of the child. And so why wouldn't you have your client really
Yes.
involved to help make those decisions? So
And you deal with wills
we do not.
or because money changes everything. It changes every conversation,
Mhm.
whether it's family or not. So having I've gone through with my parents, not that there was, but so fortunately our family had no issues with that. But everybody's got a friend where you can
Mhm.
tell that, oh, and it just, oh wait, all of a sudden like,
Yeah.
oh, he's got that much or she's got that much. Like,
Yeah, we don't really deal with wills, and we pretty much exclusively practice family law, and then we'll refer that out.
okay,
There may be in a very simple situation, if it's a very very simple will, or if they don't have a will and they want just something very simple,
yeah,
because you need to reevaluate that and revise it whenever going through a
mhm,
separation or a divorce. Because your beneficiary is likely going to change, given you're no longer going to be with your
yes.
spouse.
And if there's a blended family and some
Yes,
money involved, yeah,
absolutely. So we offer we call it our VIP divorce package, which is simple, yeah. Which is
we learn something
simply
every week, don't
yeah,
we?
there you
Yeah,
go. Which is simply once people get to that, they can actually file for divorce. So
mhm,
they've met that year and a day requirement. It's the filing of those documents and that whole process, as well as a very simple will, or power of attorney or healthcare power of attorney. Again,
yeah,
super, super simple. If it
yeah.
gets complicated at all, we're referring it out. But so that includes the VIP divorce includes the actual divorce and the a will or power of attorney.
Do you remember the first couple referrals you got when you joined BNI
Um,
and how you got them?
yeah, I would say from this group, I don't remember it as much with my first exposure to BNI
Mhm,
with the morning show because I wasn't as involved. I wasn't
right.
tracking the numbers then. I was just substituting for the attorney. Um, but with New Direction, I don't know if it was the very first, but definitely one that I can think of that came from the realtor in our group who was just on the show
She
not too
was.
long ago,
Yes.
Sandra
Yep.
Guchalis. And, it was a gentleman that had, everything was amicable. I mean, there was nothing contentious, but he wasn't officially divorced yet, and he needed a certain document to be able to purchase. He was working with Sandra to purchase a home.
Uh,
And there
mhm.
are stipulations that go into all of that whenever you're technically still married, still legally married, and, so it was really simple and, to help him out, but I mean, something that's simple, I should say, in our line of work
Yes.
because we deal with it every day, but if you don't know, and then all of a sudden you're being told, "Well, no, you can't buy this house unless your spouse signs off on it because you're legally still married, but you've been separated for
Mm.
at least a year," so, that's probably the first one I can really think about, um
So who are the natural referral partners in your chapter then?
I would definitely say Rick
Mhm.
because he's another attorney and he doesn't practice family law. So anytime it comes cross his plate as a family law. If it's a family law matter, then it's,
Because I know him as
he
a closing
recognizes it.
attorney, yeah.
Yes, he
Yeah.
recognizes it, and so and he understands the importance of speaking with an attorney before making some decisions,
And he runs
and that
fast from that, right?
yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
one of the
yeah, he'll let us he says that he's a dirt attorney, that he works with houses that are built from the dirt, and then he also does wills and estates and
Okay,
stuff,
alright.
so people that are going in the dirt. Um, so he's a really good natural referral source for us, and definitely and just Sandra, because,
Yeah.
the realtor, which I think that's to any group,
Oh,
really. The
yeah.
realtors can feed to so many people in the group because they come in contact with, so many different people in different phases of life. Um
And with your clients, who have you found out that you can refer to? Because you again, there's sensitivity involved there
Mhm, mhm.
on how they may not wanna be known that they're a client of yours
Yeah, yeah.
or going through that situation.
Sure, and we have to be and that's where it gets a little bit tricky sometimes with recording
Mhm.
referrals, because we have to be very sensitive with due to confidentiality standards. If it is a client of ours, we have to be very sensitive into how we make that referral. Um, and I guess the information that we give, unless we explicitly have
Mm.
the client's permission to, yes, please give them my, full name, number, email, and have them reach out to me. Um, but it's for us, I think, when someone's going through a separation or divorce, it affects almost every area of their life.
Mhm.
Whether and one of the biggest things is the house. If there's a marital home, if you're going, somebody's either going to stay in the home, one of the parties, or it could be it could be sold. So if you're looking at that, then I mean, definitely, again, going back to Sandra, and she's been great as well as the mortgage lender, which our seat for that's currently open if anyone's interested.
There you go.
um, because they can do a cross market analysis for us real quick or for the person and help look at again at the pros and cons financially of are we going to need to refinance this house, and get the person's name off the deed, and one party's going to stay in the home maybe if there's children involved, or is it going to be in the best interest to just sell the home. And so our mortgage lender and realtor are a great resource for that. I mean, I know the paralegal and one of the paralegals in our office will just quickly pick up the phone and call the former mortgage lender that was in our group, just to ask a couple of questions just to help,
Yeah.
move the case along. So,
Yeah, because again, you wanna help them as best you can to make the
mhm,
right decision or
yep.
whether somebody stays or it do usually will somebody stay in the house versus they just sell the house and split the profits?
It really is so case specific, and I don't just say that to say that, but
Mhm.
excuse me. Um, a lot of times, people will either get, or they might be kind of emotionally attached to the house, especially if there's children involved. Like, oh, my children were raised in this house. Right, but if
Mhm.
now that I mean, life is changing, and, whether it's a change that, one spouse had wanted more than the other or that one was blindsided by, either way, something's gotta happen with a marital home, and it may not be in the financial best interest of, let's say, if wife is staying in the home with the
Mhm.
children, can realistically, can she afford or can even if, or if the husband, can he afford to stay in the home,
Yeah.
um, now that the situation is changing? Or if there's location to school, is that gonna be a factor now? So there's a lot of things that come into it. But I mean, and I mentioned separation agreements earlier, they get very specific about the sale of a home. If it goes into, if the parties can't agree by 3 weeks on the market, then you're gonna defer to the realtor as far as, agreeing on dropping the price of the house or, the recommendation. I mean, timeline of if it hasn't sold in X amount of days, then, it'll be reduced by this amount or, they get very specific because if you leave a lot of gray area in a separation agreement, then if it's a very contentious situation, it can lead to arguments.
Are you yeah, which you've seen. You get there's a book out there, right?
Yeah.
I know there is, with all the names, changing names
Yeah.
to protect the innocent. I think it was that Dragnet? Protecting the names have been changed, one of those shows way
Yeah.
back when. If you're young, you're not gonna get it, but if you're my age, you're gonna get it, so are you able to visit other chapters, and what kind of relationships are you looking to build with other lawyers like Rick who want no part of family law,
Yeah.
or that's not their specialization?
Sure. Yes, I have visited other chapters. My role in the firm has kind of lent itself for me to stay in the office more to help with phone calls and people that are interested in services to
Mhm.
help because we track all of that. It's always good to know your numbers. And so we track all of that. So I've been in the office more, but we're going to have a new team member starting soon. And so that's going to help. She's going to help me with phone calls. So I'll be out more and being able to visit different
Okay.
groups more. But I've subbed for other people. Again, at the morning show, um, I have been up to the one that meets a trolley. Is it
Yes.
Triangle
Thursday
Business?
mornings, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've made some great relationships out of that too. So it's
In fact,
always
Matt
fun.
Yablanowski was a guest on the
Okay.
show. Yep.
I've made some. I mean, I always love visiting other chapters and definitely encourage it. And I absolutely plan to do more of that once I can be out of the office more. Because you just never know who you're going to come across or who you're
Yes.
going to meet,
Yeah.
and what's going to build from there. Marcella Stewart from
Mhm.
that same chapter. She came to the office a year ago, actually, because my birthday's Friday, and she came to the office last
Happy
year.
early birthday.
Thank you. And she did facials for all of us during a lunch hour on my birthday. It was
Oh,
fantastic.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, and she's with Mary Kay, and so she comes and visits our group all the time. So again, that's just another
Mhm.
relationship. You just never know. So
Well, Thursday mornings at 7:30 at Hope Community Church in Cary. You can go visit my chapter.
okay.
So we had 2 lawyers. We had Philip Gray, who
hmm
says he practices, not happy law,
Okay.
and then Kevin Israel, who just left, practiced the business part of it. So Philip would always say Kevin practices. Go see Kevin for happy law. Don't, because Philip's a trial attorney, and he goes,
Ah,
if you get to me, something's happened, so you should always go to Kevin, so you don't have to come to
yeah.
me.
People generally aren't too happy when they're calling
Yeah.
an attorney. So
Exactly. So, and so there's all kinds of people, all kinds of different lawyers in BNI
mhm,
of what they're practicing and what they're not, and probably there's relationships to build for you, right?
absolutely. And I think that again, I think I mentioned it earlier, in that I'm sure the attorney that you just spoke of that was the litigator, is
Mhm.
he still in the
Oh,
chapter
he
or
is.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Philip
Um,
Gray, Stevenson Law.
There you go. Because it's hard. I'm sure I don't know if he often has subs or
He
but
can when he's going to Greensboro or Charlotte because he every now and then when a sub shows up, it's like, oh, Philip must be at a
yeah,
yeah.
and again, it depends upon the different area of law. Like a criminal defense attorney, I don't know how many criminal defense attorneys are in
Mhm.
BNI, but you're in court pretty much every day.
Yeah.
With us, it varies on a week to week basis how often the attorneys are in court. But I mean, we also emergency custody is one of the things that we also assist people with, and that's an emergency situation that consultation might come in at 9 a.m. that morning. Next thing you know, we're filing documents that day. So
Yeah.
so the attorneys really have to be able to be dedicated to that. So um, being able to for me to be able to go travel to these different and visit these different BNIs and meet these other attorneys are great resources for us too, because since we just practice family law, if we've got a client that calls us and, I've had someone that called us and their son I don't know, I think he had missed court for a traffic matter or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And she's upset and kind of freaking out, like, oh, is my son going to get arrested? What should I do? Well, we don't practice that side of law.
Yeah.
So then we were able to send her to a trusted referral
In
source.
other chapters I visited, the lawyer will stand and go, "Yeah, if you got a speeding ticket, you can call me." I'll do
Yeah.
because that's usually everybody's first question.
Yeah.
"I have a friend."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Asking for a
Have
friend.
your friend call me later.
Yeah.
Alright, so we talked earlier in the open about your background,
Mhm.
and we'd laughed about football Saturdays, but you have a couple of schools that you have degrees from,
Yes.
but you were also an instructor
Mhm,
at Pitt Community College, courses for law enforcement
mhm.
officers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, went to Appalachian State, which they're having a great football season again this year, so
There's hey, that is a solid program,
they're
yeah.
having a viewing party, tomorrow evening at a couple of different places in the area for the App game, so I'm gonna hit up one of those,
There
but,
you go.
yeah, so I went to
Wait, so you cheer for both schools?
yes.
Didn't App State play ECU a couple years
They
ago?
did, and
Who did
the first year, I was solely App because I hadn't started grad school at ECU
Oh,
yet.
okay, alright.
The next time they played each other, I think, I had graduated from the grad school program, but had just started working at ECU. So I made my own house divided shirt. Because at the time, whenever I knew I was gonna start grad school with ECU, but the season, I mean, I hadn't started quite yet. Um, App had more of my money. I owed them student loans. I didn't owe
Not
ECU
anymore,
yet. So
right?
yeah.
Not anymore, so
Yeah.
and I've always heard that undergrad, if you have 2 degrees, which of course I don't, so I can't answer this question, but I've always heard that undergrad trumps grad as far as what you cheer for.
Yeah, I mean, if they played again, I mean, it's still tough because I mean, the Pirate football games are some of the most fun football games I've
Oh,
ever been to.
great
Just the
tailgating.
yeah,
Great
great tailgating,
tailgating.
the atmosphere, um, of, the
Yeah.
football game and everything, great, but, there is also something even though App is smaller than
Mhm.
ECU, There's something about like the football stadium, just like you're in a bowl in the mountains, and so it's a different experience. But yeah, my heart, if I have to choose, my heart's gonna go to
All right.
App.
So now that I've fulfilled my requirement of college football,
Yeah.
let's go back to your instructor, big community. And again, your ties to law enforcement
Mhm.
and teaching and everything, because you had mentioned earlier. So,
Yeah, so, when I mentioned becoming an instructor for the Department of Public Safety, um, I you have to teach so many hours to keep
mm,
that accreditation and everything, and I loved it. Once I got the opportunity, to do that, and that then lent itself to, so anyone that works for the Department of Public Safety and law enforcement, they have to have so many continuing credit hours
mm,
as well. And so I just through trainings that I had to go to whenever I was working at the the juvenile detention center, just met some of the people that are involved in that program of coordinating those classes. So I was able to teach the juvenile law section of basic law enforcement training, and then other different ones about a lot of times it involved juvenile justice in some capacity. I think there was one class that I taught that was about, it was a continuing ed class, and it was the disconnect, or I don't wanna say the disconnect, but I guess the generation gaps between some of your older officers and then working with juveniles,
yes.
because we're such a digital age now,
Hmm.
that somewhat that interaction is lost because we're all, doing this.
That's why we go to our kids and grandkids.
Yeah, yeah,
Can you
exactly.
reprogram my phone?
Yeah, so when it comes to communicating as a law enforcement officer then with
Mm,
a kid that is, maybe you're trying to get through to or explain or to help, and depending upon what the situation is, there can kind of be a barrier there, and I could see it in that the older officers, some of them would pull out this big old flip phone that they still had. I was like, "Well, this has worked just fine for me for it makes calls and sends call,
yeah,
and receives calls.
that's my
That's all
dad.
I
Yeah,
need," and
that's
I'm
yeah.
like, "Yeah, well, cars have advanced too, and we don't, we're driving around with GPSs, so like, but yeah, so being able to do that was great because it kept me involved in the law enforcement community and the criminal justice side of things. Even after I had transitioned into family law and was doing some paralegal work, um, before I switched over to PR and marketing, it kept me in that world, and I loved the study of criminal justice and criminology and the theories behind it and everything. And so it kept me attached to that world, and I loved being able to educate and teach and find that connection of, okay, what's gonna make this interesting for you?
And how
So,
long did you do that?
let's see, I taught at ECU for a year, and then, I did the law enforcement training for about 5 years off and on. Some of it was an online course,
Mm,
so that was worked out well with me being in Raleigh, and then, a lot of the law enforcement officers being in, Greenville. But, yeah, but I did it off and on for about 5 years until, it came time to renew my certificate, and some things got lost in translation and everything anyway, and I wasn't able to renew the certificate for the Department of Public Safety, but I kinda had to make that choice of, "Okay, well, I'm in family law, and I love what I do and
mhm.
helping clients that I have now, so I'll have to let that go." But
And you came to BNI with, obviously, the public speaking background. A lot of one of the neat things that a BNI chapter forces people to do is
mm,
stand up in public,
mhm.
because I don't understand why people don't like it and don't think it's the easiest thing in the
Right, yeah.
free world. I love it. But a lot of people just that's their big they'll tell you that's
Mhm,
their biggest fear, speaking in public. So you had that. And the other thing on this show, sometimes we get in the weeds on, and Amnon keeps us honest about this, is we talk about BNI and we throw around, like any industry, throw around slang words and abbreviations and stuff. So when Jen was talking earlier about being a substitute, each week, BNI is a weekly meeting, but we don't want people to look at it that way. We want to look at it as a client. And if a client was worth 25% of your bottom line, and they said, "Hey, every Tuesday morning we're meeting at Starbucks for coffee," you're going to meet every Tuesday morning with that client, and you're just going to think, "Hey, I'm going to help them grow their business." And we'd like people to think of BNI as the same way, but it is a weekly meeting, and you get 3 absences every 6 months. So if you are going to be absent, you can call somebody to be a substitute for you,
mhm,
and then they stand up and they read your elevator pitch. But also, it's you're still represented in the meeting, even though Jen's not there or I'm not there. Our company name is still represented in the meeting. That, hey, if you have this problem, you can call Jen, and she'll get back with you and help you on that. So we always
mhm,
want to make sure we don't get caught in the weeds too
yeah.
much. Thank you, Amnon. The other neat thing about joining a BNI chapter is the well-rounded types of people you're going to meet. You're going to meet small business owners, meet some people that work for large businesses.
Mhm,
Some people don't own their business, and like with you working for somebody else,
mhm,
but still you're there to grow a business, and that's what we all want to do. But the vast majority of people in BNI give back to the community and are volunteers. I know a couple of organizations you're involved with, Safe Child North Carolina and Note in the Pocket.
Mhm.
And tell a little bit about what those are and why you're involved with them.
Absolutely. So, Safe Child is a wonderful local organization here in Wake County, and they've been an organization for I think 26 years now. And the safe part of Safe Child stands for Stop Abuse for Every Child. And so, I had some dear friends that were very involved in Safe Child, and when I came to the area, um, and it's one of the great things about the partners of our law firm is that they
Mhm.
want to be so involved in the community. And this just seemed like a very natural interest. I mean, it pulled at my heartstrings given my background with juvenile justice and at-risk youth, and abuse and neglect are definitely one of those risk factors for a
Mhm.
pathway to delinquency. And it's a very, very real issue that affects a lot of people in the community. It's one of those dark topics nobody really likes to talk about
Yeah.
because it's sad and heart wrenching and everything, but it's a very real issue. And Save Child does amazing work with the families and the children involved. And they have a subsection of young ambassadors. And so I was able to just get involved in that by starting to attend a couple of the different events that they've been doing, and we've kind of restructured this year to have a young ambassador on one of the committees of the actual board of directors for Safe Child. So that's something very new, and so I attended my first meeting a couple weeks ago. I'm on the marketing committee of the First Save Child, and so it's great because we then, as the young ambassadors, really get to learn more about what the board of directors are trying to do, and what their needs are for from the community and working with their clients. Um, and so it's just a great way to help raise awareness for the
Mhm.
organization. And then Note in the Pocket, also dealing with children, another local, organization to Wake County. They collect, all kinds of donations, clothes,
Mhm.
shoes, everything like that for children, and, they a lot of times will get their referral or needs from like a one of the social workers or counselors at a school. Will reach out to Note in the Pocket and say, "Hey, this family, these kids, they tell stories that just" I mean, immediately almost bring a tear to your eye because there was one story of these 2 brothers that they were alternating days they were going to school because they only had 1 pair of shoes between the 2 of them to
Wow.
wear. And so they had to, they were missing quite a bit of school. I mean, every other
Wow.
day. And so the social worker or the counselor at the school reached out to Note in the Pocket, and then Note in the Pocket will take that and fulfill 2 weeks worth of clothes. Um, if it's 1 child, definitely for that child, but a lot of times they'll go ahead and help the entire family. And then, of course, if there are siblings, then it's, a combination of clothes and shoes and everything that get is for 2 weeks for those kids. And they do great stuff too. And they really, really rely on volunteers for, getting the clothes sorted because they send these clothes, they want them to be in new or like new condition
Yeah.
that these kids are getting because they want their kids to be proud of what they're wearing,
Yeah.
going to school. And so they have like a 3-tier process that they sort through all of these clothes, to make sure that they're not super faded or torn or, um, that they then, organize by size and everything else to be able to send out, so
And it's stories like these are how BNI helps the community because when you stand up and give your elevator pitch in a BNI meeting, you're 99 times out of 100, you're promoting your business. But one of the mottos for BNI is like, know, and trust. And that's how
mhm,
you get to know somebody. And that's when you can pass them a referral because I like them, I know them, and I trust them. So if I give them this referral, they're going to take care of my friend, my client. But you also have to set up one-to-ones for people to get to know you, to
mhm,
understand you so they can like, know, and trust you. And that's when those conversation points come up where they find out, "Hey, what else do you do?" And you can tell them about those, and you can promote an event, a fundraiser, anything
mhm.
like that. And then your chapter and other chapters can become aware of that, and they can donate and give time and money and all those things.
Yeah, and I think with our chapter too, we like to, whether it's every other month or every couple of months, we like to have very low key, just kind of get together. We call them socials, but
Mhm,
some people might not be able to come. It's not really organized. It's just somewhere, a restaurant in the local area,
mhm,
that whoever can come, we get together because when you're at the BNI meeting, there is a structure to it and there's limited time because everyone values their time and you're there to go through the meaning itself. And so having these socials as well is a way to have numerous, honestly, one-to-ones
mhm.
at a time. And then it's also a more relaxed environment that you get to know more personally, or get to know the members more personally. And we it's a great time to talk about different things that we're doing. Going back to I mentioned that it's Domestic Violence Awareness
Mhm.
Month. And so there's another organization called Call to Peace Ministries that we're focusing on for this month. And so we're doing an event at Linwood Brewing Concern. So taking one of my other hobbies, where they do charitable nights. And so on October
Oh,
16th,
very
we're
nice.
doing Hops for Healing is what I've called it. Where a dollar from every pint sold that night will go to this
Very
organization.
good.
And so I mentioned that in BNI. And so right away, everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
send us an invite via email so we can have it. So yeah, the support that you get from all angles from your BNI group
Mhm.
members is priceless.
Now is that Linwood Grill or Linwood Brewing?
The brewing over off of
Okay.
Whitaker Mill,
Okay, and when is that?
October 16th.
Alright, what
Yep.
time?
Well, it's for the duration that they're open that evening. So
Oh, good,
they're
okay.
open from 4 to 11. I will not be there from 4. I'll be there at 4. But
Till
I
we'll just leave a
until
question
yeah,
mark, yeah,
dot,
okay.
dot, dot.
Alright, there you go. Yeah, and you'll have the morning off because it would be a big fundraiser, so you'll
Sure,
have tomorrow morning off, yeah, so
exactly, yeah.
but so they can go to Linwood Brewing and
Mhm.
get some more information on that?
Yeah, and
Okay.
Linwood, and there's if you go to our Facebook page, New Direction Family Law's Facebook page, under the event section, information about it will pop up and let you know the time. And if you've never been to Linwood Brewing Concern or LBC, they've got a great outdoor area.
Yes.
It's family friendly, it's dog friendly. I mean, it's a big, and especially with the weather, hopefully soon cooling off.
There's
Um,
another storm coming, so yeah.
I know. It'll be it's a good area. There's usually a food truck, so
Yeah.
yeah, really
Yeah,
laid back, but a good time for a good
'cause a lot of
cause.
those local breweries are going to I know my oldest son and his wife live in Charlotte, and everyone they wanna go to, there's dogs everywhere. People are
Mhm.
letting dogs in all the
Yep.
places, and I
Yeah,
guess
because
for
they
the
generally don't have the stipulations associated with
yeah.
having food there, so
Oh, okay.
it's a
Alright.
good, easy
Alright.
place to bring your pup.
Alright. So, I enjoy reading and hearing weird things and goofy things. I'm like, "Ah, I gotta sit and think through that for a minute." So the other day and this when I heard this, I thought, "I'm gonna ask Jen about this."
Oh,
So
goodness.
I'm reading the other day that the divorce rate in the United States has been going down since 2009 or 2010,
Mhm.
and they attribute this to the group of people that have been hammered the most in the last 4 years, millennials, because they say they're getting married later,
Mhm.
they're more educated, and more apt to stay in a marriage. Um,
My
any
thoughts on
any
that?
thoughts on that? Yeah, because
Um,
I had to read through that and think through that for a minute, but some of it does make sense.
yeah, and, and for the longest time, it was at the divorce rates, 50,
Oh,
fifty-one
yeah.
percent and once I got into family law, I kind of wondered that, since people are generally, as a culture, waiting
Mhm.
longer to get married and sometimes are more, career focused before getting married, which lends itself to kind of independence and coming into a relationship. So not being so codependent on potentially, I'm not saying everyone is by any means, but, um, and so I kind of wondered if we would see that phase, a
Yeah.
transition. So yes, that side, however, with that being said, that people are waiting later to get married, so also we're gonna have another trend of numbers, you know what I mean? So with the stats, there's a lot of
Okay.
variables
Alright.
there. So while that rate has gone down, one rate that has increased is gray divorce. That's what we call it, is gray divorce. But for people that are, I mean, for instance, we had a gentleman in his 70s, someone in their 70s
Really?
come and do a consultation. Yeah. And I think it's
Hmm.
maybe I think there's a couple different factors that play into that. One of them is that, even though, no one again, we don't promote divorce and we don't wanna see a happy marriage end by any
Mm.
means, but I think divorce is more culturally accepted now. And so when
Yes.
you've got the gray divorce, the term we use for it, since it's
That
more
pains me.
accepted. Yeah.
That pains me with my yeah.
So yeah, so they're coming in. I mean, we were working with a client and she was, I think, in her 70s as well. And even afterwards, she came to us very, very upset, blindsided by the situation. And she's like, I'm X amount years old. Like, what am I gonna do? And after everything was said and done, and then she was like, you know what? I may be, in my 70s or whatever, but I've got a new lease on life. And
Wow.
which I mean, we're so happy to see that. I mean, just that's probably one of our biggest rewards is after, we help someone through this transitional phase in their life. When they get to the other side, I mean, I've literally seen people come back and like their health problems have gotten better just because of the stress has
Yeah.
gone down. Or once they got through this, they were able to look back and say, I'm glad this happened. This happened for a reason. It was tough, but I'm here now and life is better. You know what I mean? And so to see that emotionally, physically, everything is that's our why.
Yeah. Very good, but
So
I saw that and it's like, alright, there's gotta be something to that. Of course,
yeah.
millennials are being hammered on a
Yeah.
daily basis, but that's another hour-long show that we'll get to
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
time, so alright, so this is early part of October
Yes.
2018, so
Mhm.
looking forward to second quarter 2019 into the year 2019, where did the partners and you want to see New Direction grow?
Sure. So in moving into our new space, we are bringing on a fourth attorney,
Mhm.
and he is going to be the first brave male in our office.
All
Our
right.
entire office is all females, but we're fun. Don't let that
Does
scare
he get his
you.
own bathroom?
He does have his
All
own
right,
bathroom,
there you
yeah.
go.
And so he's gonna come on board, and he's experienced in family law. And then we've got our client intake person. So I think one of our partners has a goal of writing a book. So hopefully I'm gonna help her on her journey in doing that and being a part of that process. Um, and just to, I guess, to continue the quality of client-focused care and, and being, just more involved in the community, continue to grow that side of our practice and, just keep on trucking along, you know?
Would you be able, and I ask everybody this, so
Mhm.
would you be able to put a percentage number on the bottom line, what BNI has meant to the company or number of referrals a month or something like that to give people an idea how BNI can help all kinds of businesses grow?
Yeah, definitely, and some of it's not monetary value. I did my homework and
I
actually
noticed you with paperwork. I'm like, "Oh, now I'm gonna be quiz. All right, not how this show works, but go ahead." Yeah.
Um, so there are some absolutely non-monetary benefits, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
I'll speak to those first, and that when clients come to us and we're very protective of them because they're already going through such a tough time. So to be able to, without a question, have resources to them. Sandra, again, if
Mhm.
someone is really hanging on to this house, but it's not in their best interest to
Mhm.
keep the house, having someone like Sandra that we know is going to hold their hand, explain to them the pros and cons to everything, and help them through it, just like we are. That's huge. That is priceless. And there's several people in the chapter like that. So that's the priceless side of the non-monetary. Other than the monetary side of it, we signed up for the 2-year membership and it's paid for itself 20 times over.
Good.
Um,
And a
and
two-year membership is $685 for 2
yeah,
years membership. You paid it 20 times over.
yes.
Okay. We
And
like that.
then on top of that, the ways that I've been able to help people, whether it's referring a client and them getting great care, or working with, since we track all the numbers, other people in other BNI groups that I've been able to work with as well and help them grow their businesses. What did I put down here? Over $35,000 that I've been able to help contribute to
Nice.
to other people. So it's and tracking the numbers is great because that's what people want to see. Like, okay, if I'm going to pay into this, I want to see
Mhm.
what the benefit is. But there are so many more benefits to it, along with and I think because we like to report every week, I think what each seat in our chapter is
Yes.
worth.
Mhm.
So on average, I think every seat in our chapter is worth like $10,000 or
Mhm.
something. So we're a little bit of a smaller chapter. I think we've got 17 or 18
Mhm.
members. Um, so we're like the little engine that could. We still.
Yeah. If you or somebody you know has a small business they are starting and wanting to grow, please check us out at Triangle BNI. If you have family law issues or someone you know that does, please check out New Direction, talk to Jen. And next week, we look forward to seeing you. We've got Sean McClafferty with Think Designs. And again, folks, we recommend you go to trianglebni.com, find a chapter, go visit a chapter, see how BNI can help you. And we'll see you next week on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.